Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alessa and on Of Madness and Magic I review books, movies and whatever else I may come across. And in today's video I will be ranking all of my October reads, which is something that I'm very excited about because I read so many good books in October. Like seriously, like there was only one that I didn't like and everything else was just like good, which was like really a surprise for me. But yeah, very excited and let's get right to it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It would mean so much to me. But now let's get started. So I read 9 books in October, 2 series, the Cruel Prince series and From Blood and Ash. And then also Kingdom of the Wicked, Stalking Jack the Ripper, and Dark and Shallow Lies, so mostly fantasy, but also 2 Stalking Jack the Ripper is more of a murder mystery set in like historical London, and Dark and Shallow Lies is a thriller that also has some kind of murder mystery, which is set in southern Louisiana in the bayous. And yeah, but like I'll talk about it in a minute. But now let's start with my least favorite book, and it's sadly Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. I was so excited for this book. Like it was actually like my most anticipated read of October because first of all, like it just gives me like major Halloween, October, Spooktober vibes, like just like the cover. And it sounded so promising with the whole, solving like the murder of the protagonist, Emilia's twin sister, and she meets this like demon prince of hell that she summons, and it's just like it sounded so good and I thought that I was going to love it, but I really did not like it. I gave it 1.5 stars, which really pained me because I wanted to love this book so much, but it just didn't do it for me. I found it incredibly confusing. First of all, like I didn't really understand why she summoned Wrath, the demon prince of hell, which are like there's 7 demon princes and they correlate with the 7 deadly sins, and so she summoned Wrath. And I didn't really understand why. Like I felt like it was like not really explained very well why she needed the demon, but I thought like, hey, like I'm pretty sure like it's gonna be like more clear throughout the book. But all I got were more questions and not really any answers. And at the end of the book I was so lost. I did not understand anything that was going on. I also found it really disappointing that we got like a map of the 7 circles of hell. It looked so cool, and then we didn't even get to them. Like we were just in Palermo, even though we didn't really like, it didn't feel like we were in Sicily. It was just like there were a lot of like food descriptions because her family owns a restaurant, and like those food descriptions were like the best thing about this book. I cannot believe that I'm saying this, but they were so good. But I mean, like didn't want to read a cookbook. I wanted to read like a murder mystery set in like historical Sicily and have like fantasy elements, which of course like that's what I got, but it was just like everything else was not done well in my opinion. I will still read Kingdom of the Curse though, because first of all, like that's when we're getting to the 7 circles actually, and that's what I was kind of looking for. And also just because I really want to see this story continue, and also because, like, little spoiler, I really liked Stalking Jack the Ripper, so I kind of have like some hopes that I might actually also enjoy Kingdom of the Cursed. But just like this book, it just didn't do it for me. I also didn't really like Emilia. I thought that Wrath was very generic. I didn't feel like he had like any personality. So yeah, there were a lot of things that I did not like about this book, sadly. But yeah, excited to read Kingdom of the Cursed anyway, and I hope that I will like that one better, because if not, I will not read the final book in the series. And then let's move on to my second least favorite book, even though that one is like, I didn't like Kingdom of the Curse, but now all the books that I'm like talking about now, I actually liked them. Just some, some I loved, some I just liked. And one that I just liked was The Cruel Prince. I read so many good things about the series, and also like that it's like such a good romance, and like Jude and Cardam are like one of the best couples, and I don't know, and I like, did these people read like a different series? Because I didn't feel like there was a lot of romance in the Cruel Prince series. I thought it was a really good series, I really liked it, but for the plot and not for the romance, because I thought that the romance was just like a minor plot point, but not really like the main objective. Like the main objective was definitely like Jude like rising into power, and her, like just like also like finding her inner strength, and she's such an amazing main character. Like she might be one of my favorite characters ever. Like she is so cool. And Carden is also okay, but he is so bad in this one. Like all the like bullying, I was kind of, I mean, like, I guess I went into it with like wrong expectations because I knew that it was like gonna be, you know, like enemies to lovers and stuff like that, but I thought that they were gonna be older and I didn't expect like bullying, to be honest. And I was just like, that really turned me off, and I also didn't think that like the other two books really gave us enough time with Carden to really offset the things that he did in this book and also like at the beginning of the second book. But so like I'm not a huge fan of Carden, and this book was good. I felt it was like a bit slow, and again, like it was just, I loved Jude, but everything else about this book was like kind of like more meh, to be honest. But like it was a good start to the series. I gave it, I think I gave it, no, yeah, gave it 3.5 stars because yeah, it was good, but it was not like the best book that I've ever read. So that's The Cruel Prince. And then we have the third book in the series, which is Queen of Nothing. Also, like, the cover is absolutely gorgeous. I think it's so, so pretty. And I was really hoping for more. I give this book 4 stars. You know, also if you follow my Instagram, which is of Madness and Magic, you can read all of my books, like all of my book reviews sooner than this. And so if you've read those posts, you know that I liked this book. I was just hoping for more. I also like really hoped for some more romance because I didn't feel like we got a lot of that in the first 2 books, and I felt like, I mean, like, that's not the book's fault, of course, because that's like, you know, like Bookstagram and BookTok are really hyping the romance up, and I just don't know why, because there's really like not that many scenes. But yeah, like I thought it was like a good finale. It was very predictable at a point, like after, you know, like the big plot twist happened, I was like, yeah, okay, like this is how it's gonna end, and it did end like that, so that was like kind of a bit of a letdown. But just in general, I thought it was like a good conclusion to the series. It wasn't the like grand finale that I was expecting or that I was hoping for, but it was good, just not the best book in the series, but I liked it, and overall the series is really good, and I definitely recommend it. Also because it's just like, each book is like 300 pages, so it was like a really like nice and quick read, which is so nice, especially in fantasy when all books are just like huge. So really like this, really enjoy it. Just, you know, like I don't understand why everyone hypes up the romance as much. And then the next book is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco, and I read this, I started this right after I finished Kingdom of the Wicked, and I was a little bit nervous because I was like this is her debut novel, and if I didn't like some of her like more recent work, I was like very worried if I would like the first novel that she ever wrote. But I really loved this, and I was like, where did all this talent go with Kingdom of the Wicked? Like, seriously, it made me kind of mad to read this book because this was so good, and I just, like, it was really everything that I wanted from Kingdom of the Wicked as well, because, like, the main character in this is nice, her relationship with Thomas is so good, like, the whole, like, angst and, you know, like, I mean, like, it's not really enemies to lovers, I'd say, it's more like, you know, dislike to lovers, but this was so good. Also, the writing was amazing, and I felt like it just like it was like it had a goal and it executed this goal, and it was like, again, like I really liked it. I also really liked the atmosphere and all the setting, like the whole. I really felt like I was in Victorian London. I also really appreciated like the pictures that were in there. And just like everything about it, honestly. Yeah, but the only reason why I'm not giving this book 5 stars is because I guessed the murderer like almost from the beginning. I mean, like, there were like 3 main suspects. One that was like the obvious one, then the one that the author wanted us to believe that it is, and then the actual murderer. But I pretty quickly guessed it, and then like around like the halfway mark, I was very certain that this was going to be our murderer, and it was. So that's why I'm not giving the book 5 stars, because in a murder mystery I want to be surprised by the murderer, at least like a little bit, and not just like, it was so obvious, to be honest. I mean, like, it was like there were not any plot holes, and it was very like done very well, and I know that there are a lot of people who didn't guess the murderer, but for me it was just like very easy to guess. So that's why I'm giving it 4 stars, but really, I really liked it. I really enjoyed the writing, and I'm so looking forward to reading Hunting Prince Dracula, because that's like, you know, just like my thing with like the whole story of Dracula and stuff. But yeah, good book, and if you don't guess the murderer like right away, then you will love this. if not, you will still have a very great time reading. Also because like the motive of the murderer was a lot darker than I expected it to be, so that was a big surprise. So even though I guessed the murderer correctly, I still really enjoyed, you know, like getting to know why he did everything that he did. Yeah, and then we have like everything from now on will actually be 4.5 stars read and up, which is honestly amazing because we still have 5 books left. So again, like it was really a very good reading month for me, and it was kind of hard to rank them, but the next one that I want to talk about is The Wicked King. Again, like all of the following books are gonna have 4.5 stars and up. And the reason why this is like the lowest one is just because I really loved this book, but I really hoped that like Queen of Nothing would be even better, and it wasn't, so that's why I'm ranking this one a little bit lower than the others, even though it was still like, I thought it was definitely like by far the best book in the series. It was so cool, there were so many plot twists in there. I really liked Chu's character development, I really liked how she was like, you know, pulling the strings behind Carden and all of that. Also the whole scene with her, the whole thing with her under the sea, really, really cool. Like I really loved everything about this book. The only thing that I didn't like is that Jude is the only likable character it is. Like, I mean, like, there's like Vivi and Heather and maybe also, like, I mean, like, but they were really just like minor roles, and also we have like the Roach and the Bomb that are kind of okay. But everything else is, like, everyone else just sucks. Like, I mean, like, Carden, like, I'm not the biggest fan of Carden again. So, I don't know, like, I just, you know, like, it's just hard when the only person you really care about is the main character, and that's why, like, I just really wanted to have her, like, I wanted her to have, like, a friend, someone who's also on her side, but she felt so alone in this, so that's why I'm not giving it 5 stars, because I really would have wanted more likable characters. But other than that, an amazing book, and for me, like, definitely the best one in the series. And then we have a standalone, and it's also a debut novel, and it's Dark and Shallow Lies by Ginny Myers Sain. And this book was so good. This was my Halloween read. I finished it before Halloween. But it was perfect, and definitely like next Spooktober this will be my number 1 recommendation because it is so good. It's a murder mystery thriller, as I mentioned at the beginning, and it's set in southern Louisiana, and I'm obsessed with the setting, like literally obsessed. I've always had a thing for this, like ever since I was a child, because I had like this game, Herbs, if you don't, like if it's like this Sims game, it's called like Sims in the City, whatever, and it was set in a fictional like city that's also like adjacent to the bayous, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right, by the way. And I loved that game so much, and ever since then I kind of was like very obsessed with like the swamps of Louisiana, and this book is set there, and I think if I didn't like the setting so much, maybe I wouldn't have enjoyed this book as much, but like it was so atmospheric, and I really felt like I was in La Cachette with this, which is the psychic capital of the world. So it's like this really small town that's like in the middle of the Mississippi Delta, in the middle of swamps, and all the inhabitants there have some kind of psychic ability. So it's like magic mixed into a thriller. I wouldn't call it an urban fantasy or anything, because it's really like not like it's just like, you know, kind of there, but it's not like the driving point of the story. But it was so good, and there was like this, it kind of reminded me of We Were Liars actually, because it's like this, the main character, Grace, she returns home every summer, because usually she lives in Arkansas, and then in the summer she reunites with her group of friends who live there all year, and they're called like the Summer Children. So I don't know, like it just like really reminded me of We Were Liars, but I hated that book and I really loved this one. So to me this one is a lot better, and also just like way more interesting. And then they try to find, and like one of the friends was like disappeared in like the spring, and they try to find out what happened to her, and it's so good. And in this case, like, I really didn't guess the murderer. I probably could have, honestly, because there were definitely hints, but I think I was like more obsessed with like everything else that was going on, and I wasn't like really too focused on who the actual murderer was. But this is so good, such a strong debut novel, and I'm looking forward to anything that the author writes, because this is so promising, and also I just need more books set in the sun, like in the swamps of Louisiana, because I'm so obsessed with the setting. So if you know any more books that are set in like southern Louisiana, New Orleans, this kind of region, please let me know in the comments, because I want to read them all. And then last up, if you paid attention at the beginning, you know the 3 missing books, because as I said, like I read the From Blood and Ash series, and those are the 3 remaining books. I absolutely loved the series. I thought it was so good. It was really everything that I'm looking for in a series. I'm so excited for War of the Two Queens. Also, like, you know, like Jennifer L. Armentrout revealed the cover for that, and it's gorgeous. Like, damn, it's so pretty. But yeah, let's talk about the 3 you know, existing novels in the series. The first one is From Blood and Ash, and it's also the weakest one, I'd say, in the series. I still gave it 4.5 stars, and I still really loved it. I thought it was such a strong start. I mean, like, it's always, like, I usually never like the first book in a series best, just because, you know, like, we're still setting everything up, and it's like, you know, like the main character still has to kind of find themselves and stuff like that. So that's the reason why I liked this book the least, but I still loved it. I thought it was so good. It was a bit slow at times, but I didn't really mind, because I thought that the word building was really so good. And I mean, this book is all over Bookstagram, so you probably know that it's about, you know, like Poppy, who is the maiden, which is kind of like the chosen one, and then there's Hawk. I don't want to spoil anything. I also won't talk too much about the other 2 books, because, you know, like, there will be spoilers for the plot then. And yeah, and he kind of helps her, like, break out of that role, and he's kind of a vampire, but it's done, like, so well, and that's usually what I don't really like about vampire novels, because usually, like, in theory, I really love them, but usually they're too focused on, you know, like, romance, or like romanticizing, like, vampirism and all of that. But this book has such a great world building. Like, the whole series has such great world building. I really loved it, and, you know, one of my favorite fantasy series ever. Then the second book, or like my second favorite book actually that I read in October, is A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, the second book in the trilogy. This was also so good. Also, this one has probably like the best romance, I'd say. And it's just like, I really enjoyed it. It was really good, but somehow it didn't, like, I knew that it, like, I felt that it was like a really good book, but I wasn't really drawn into the story until like the last 200 pages, which is also why this one isn't a 5-star read, even though objectively I probably give it 5 stars, but I just wasn't sucked into it as much. So that's why it's only 4.5 stars, but still like an almost perfect book. I really enjoyed this one. The only thing that really bothers me is that, you know, like, why is the middle book white? It bothers me so much. Like, why didn't they just do like some kind of gray or whatever? Like, that's just like, that's the only thing. Like, that's the biggest issue that I have with the series, to be honest. But yeah, then my favorite book in October is The Crown of Gilded Bones, the 3rd book in the series. I loved this book so much, and I know that many people didn't enjoy it as much just because they thought it was slow. There wasn't as much romance in this. There was a lot of world building going on, but honestly, I love that so much, because I mean, like, I'm also like totally here for like the fantasy romances and all of that. But, you know, like, Game of Thrones is one of my favorite TV shows and book series, and I love the world building in that. And I just really enjoy, like, you know, like stuff like political intrigues and the whole, you know, like how to rule, how to conquer and stuff like that. So this was really like right up my alley. I get why people don't like it, like, definitely, but for me it was exactly what I was looking for. I thought it was such a grand finale. It made me so excited also to read A Shadow in the Ember, because I didn't plan on reading that, but after I finished, or like after I was halfway through this one, I was like, okay, like, I have to finish because I want to know what's going on with these gods. And I think Jennifer L. Armentrout really built like an amazing world with the series, and it's, yeah, like, it's exactly what I'm looking for in like a big fantasy series, because like there's so much world building, there's so much going on, but I really love that. And again, like, I'm so excited for War of the Two Queens. I personally hope it's more in that direction of like Crown of Gilded Bones, but, you know, for the sake of the fandom who's really there for like the romance and stuff, I hope that, you know, like, we'll get more of that in this one. But yeah, definitely my favorite. This is also the only book this month that I'm giving 5 stars, because I loved it so much. And yeah, absolute favorite in October. I'm actually not yet done with my October reading, like it's the 29th of October when I'm filming this, and I still plan to read The Assassin's Blade, because in November I will be reading the Throne of Glass series, which is obviously huge, and I really hope that I can get through all of these books, but I'm off work for the next week, so I have a lot of time to read, and I really hope that I can finish The Assassin's Blade in October, but I will still be including that in my November wrap-up, just because I want like all of Throne of Glass to be like in one video, and then like ranking those books. But yeah, so my official October TBR were those 9 books. I'm really glad that I finished all of them, really glad that I really enjoyed almost all of them. Such a good month, and also really glad that I'm like at least a little bit caught up on these like very popular series, like From Blood and Ash, The Cruel Prince, also Kingdom of the Wicked. Obviously, like there's still like I still need to read King of the Curse as well as Hunting Prince Dracula. I'm not really sure yet if I'll read the other 2 books in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, just because I'm not that interested in the topics of those, with like Houdini and White Devil, I think he's called. But maybe one day I'll actually end up finishing that series. But yeah, that's it for now. So I hope you liked this video. You know, if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It would mean so much to me. And then I'll see you in the next video. Bye!